All right, I think we did it. Hello, one and all. It's Charlie with Mountain Man Digital, trying a different platform. Coming back home to Papa Google, and gonna do a Google Live. If you guys don't know, I usually do these on Facebook, but what I want to cover today is how you can get free leads into your local business using Google. Okay, so this is going to be, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes or so. Maybe a little bit longer if you guys have some questions at the end. But what I'm going to cover, and I'll go ahead and write that down right now, is there's going to be 4 steps to this process. Okay? And number 1 is going to be the audit that you do of your current online marketing. Okay? So do you have a website? Is your website getting you any business? Are you running Facebook or Google ads? How are they performing, right? So that will be the audit, and we'll talk about how you can do that quickly and effectively. Number 2 is talking about what's working, okay? And this is more important than you think. You might be like, all right, Charlie, whatever. I'm not here to talk about what's working, but these could be door-knocking tactics, mailers, etc., and looking at the core of what's making those work and trying to translate them to the digital landscape. And so I'll give you guys some examples of ways you'll be able to do that as well, all free. Finally, we're going to talk about how to follow, hit a button on this, follow Google's rules. That'll be the third part where I'll show you, now that you have some ideas for what you're going to do, you know what's working and what's not, I'm going to show you guys some simple tricks you can do to start following more of Google's rules today, right? More of their best practices for excellent websites, and how that will drive you business like next week, right? Google loves to see it when you're using their platform, and I'm going to show you some easy ways to get them to look nicely upon you sooner rather than later. And then finally, coming up with a monthly strategy, okay? And it's really cool that with a lot of this stuff, you can totally get business in like 7 days or less, right? People will be calling you, etc. You know, this is the paradigm I've been running my business off of for years. But you got to be consistent with it too, right? I post a video just about every week. Used to be every day, right? But how many different things can you talk about with SEO? So this is very important, right, is having a monthly strategy, because this stuff up here, this will get business in the door, right? This will keep you going. This will keep the lights on. But month after month, year after year, you need to start to build the foundations for a strategy at the very least, or you're going to be hand to mouth forever. So that's what we're going to cover today. And to get started, I'm actually going to start a fresh whiteboard here. We're going to go ahead and get started with the audit piece, okay? And you guys can take notes right off of what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to switch over to like a browser at certain points to show you guys examples. But I'm going to keep taking notes here. I'll keep referring back to them. I will periodically check comments to see if you guys have any. And now we'll go ahead and take a look at what you need to do for an audit. So number 1 is going to just be your overall site composition. Okay. What's on your website? Do you have an about page? Do you have a services page? Do you have a contact page? Do you have a collection of original pictures of your work and your clients' work and all that good stuff? Because if you don't, you're gonna be at a disadvantage when you're working with, or when you're competing with other clients, especially on Google. So let's go ahead and switch the window over to here. And let's see, you guys should be able to see this. Or is it freaking out? Window capture. It doesn't like it. Hold on a second. Let's snap that out. Go back over here. There we go. It'll like that. Okay, so here's a client site. This is my boy Kevin, and this is his website for Pro Value Landscaping. And let's go ahead and take a look at his site's composition, right? Can we call him? Do we know where to email him? Do we know when he's open? Do we have an about page? Okay. Are these all original pictures? Most of them. Come on, Charlie. Some of them are stock, but actually, I believe almost all the photos on this site, which was a big battle with the client because, you know, he's not tech savvy, but he got us those pictures. But almost every single image on this site, I think except for this one here, is original, right? And you'd be shocked at how much that matters to Google, especially for these local companies, right? Because you're competing with another landscaper, right? So if you're just the guy who's got all the photos on his site, that matters. That's really important, right? That's why this is number one. So site composition, very, very important, right? Nice contact form. So I would say realistically, not a whole lot we need to do here. You know, the one thing I would say, if we're doing a snap thing here, is let's get some dates onto these images, right? So that people know exactly what we're showing here. You know, let's write little blog posts for each of these images so we know what's going on. That's really important. So that's how you take a look at site composition. So let's go ahead and head back over to the whiteboard. And let's take some notes on what site composition is. So mandatory things for site composition: original pictures. As many as you can, right? It should be like 90% original pictures. The next thing you got to have is an about page. Okay? You need to tell people either about your business or about yourself, ideally both, your vision, mission, and values as a company, what they can expect when they work with you as a client, right? These are all very important. Come on. Contact. You have to have an appropriate contact form, right? So you got to have a phone number, you got to have an email address, you got to have a form people can fill out. It's very important, right? How else are they going to get in touch with you? And make sure those things work. At least once last year, I brought a site live and the click to call button didn't work, right? That's a bummer. You can miss out on real business from stuff like that. So definitely a thing to take a look at. Gallery or blog page. Very, very important to have either a gallery or a blog page. And this is because if we imagine like a competitor's landscaping site, right? It's very easy for a landscaper to go, well, I'm just mowing lawns. Who cares, right? Well, the homeowners who are trying to decide if they're going to hire you or the other guy cares, right? So having the pictures of the lawns you've done, of the trees you've trimmed, etc., and then adding some notation, right? Making it a little blog post. Mrs. Jones's hedges, proud to have taken care of them now for 3 years running. Thanks for being such an outstanding client, right? Stuff like that. Now you're just head and shoulders above the next guy with his big truck and his 9 trailers. It doesn't matter because you're showing him that you have customer service. You see that? So gallery and blog is an easy place for you to shine with a little bit of work and like no money involvement at all, right? If you have a smartphone, you can make this happen and you can start to really compete, okay? Now, this actually ties really nicely right into number 2, okay, which is what's working, okay? So if you followed, wow, that is a jank letter W. Well, you guys know, working. I'm sorry. So galleries and blogs ties really well into what's working. Because, you know, if you're looking at this and you're like, man, I'm having a hard time, I don't know what's working, you got to have some pictures of some work you've done. You got to have some current clients, right? If you're just starting out, it's fine if you don't. But this is a great place to start to look at what's working. Why did Mrs. Jones start working with you? Well, it was just word of mouth. Yeah, it was just word of mouth, but she kept working with you because of the quality of your work, right? So this is where you can start to like dig into your sales interactions and then try and turn these into stories that you can put on a blog or in a gallery. You see that? So number one is going to be sales interactions, right? How are you getting deals right now? Right? And what do they look like? Be honest, you know? Number two is going to be current promotions that are working, right? And I'll give you some ideas now of some different like analogous marketing mediums that you can use if you have like some regular brick and mortar. Like a lot of people say word of mouth. Word of mouth is working, right? You know, my mom just sits in the McDonald's drinking coffee all day telling everybody about my welding company or something like that, right? And people come in when they have welding problems. Or, you know, any other service business. You get the idea, right? Happy clients tell their friends, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you translate that to the internet, okay? And this is where Google reviews come in. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the next number. But that's an example of one that you can do for word of mouth, right? Radio ads is another one that often works for people, right? If you have radio ads that work, take that copy and add it to the header of your website. If it's a common jingle, right? If you had a jingle written, right? Add video to the site. Nah. Okay. And Google ads, finally. Completely forgot. I don't know why I was trying to draw an L there. Google ads. Finally. Use that headline. If that headline's successful in your locale and it's working, you know, you have like a funny jingle or something, just make it a headline in a Google ad. Run that Google ad. That's not free, but if you're already spending, you know, go ahead and try in that direction. Okay. Where am I at? Let's see. What's working? Sales interactions, current promotions, and anything else, right? The idea here is to take a look at like what's gotten you business in the past and then, boil that down into like the primary thing that's actually working for you. Okay? You know, what is the headline that catches people? What's the value proposition that makes them have to sign up right now, right? Figure that out, distill it, and then use that to advertise. Okay? So that's number one right there. Or number two right there. Okay? That's how you really get through what's working. And I would highly recommend taking notes like this, right? How's word of mouth working? What's it like, right? What do I need to say to these folks that are giving me word of mouth business so that they'll leave me a Google review, okay? And that's getting into our next piece, number 3, which is following Google's rules. Okay. And I'm writing it really big because it's really important. So this actually ties into site composition. It ties into all the stuff that you just looked at for what's currently working. This realistically is the foundation of the real work that you'll start to do to get this business. Okay? So without all this other stuff, right, you're kind of like thinking backwards. So that's why I brought up, you know, what's working, what's not, how do we fix stuff. Let's take a look at your site's composition, because all that stuff has to be in place, and then we can start doing real SEO, search engine optimization, and get some business in for you. Now I'm going to show you how you can do that in like 5 days. Okay? So if we take a look, let's go to this other client's site. Go right here. You gonna work? I'm not sure if it's showing up for you guys again. Okay. Close, close. I accidentally opened up Reaper again, which is a great low-cost audio editing software, if and you need one. Okay. That ain't working. Hold on a sec. Let's just try snapping out another piece. Go over here. Back to the whiteboard. Okay, well, I won't be able to show you that anyway. So, number one way that you can follow Google's rules and you can start using some of these things to get business to you today is going to be, the Google My Business listing, okay, or the GMB, okay, and this is those fun little Maps 3-pack with like the button to call that you see at the top of Google search results when you search for stuff that's local, right? If you haven't already claimed your Google My Business listing as a business owner, do that as soon as possible. They're going to send you a postcard in the mail. You type in the code that they give you, and then that'll activate your Google My Business. Now, the cool thing about Google My Business, right, is if we go up to site composition, okay, and we see what we have on our website, right? Original pictures, an about page, a contact page, a gallery, and a blog page, right? And then we look down here too, and we're talking about getting reviews. We're talking about word of mouth, right? All of these different things you can actually do on Google My Business, and Google will reward you for doing them, especially if you do them all at once really fast. So let's go through it right now. Whoop. Let's not do that. So with Google My Business, there's like 3 steps. Number 1 is setup. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this webinar on exactly how to set it up, but I do have an extensive blog post that shows you soup to nuts how to fill out everything. What you're going to notice as you look through it is that you got to put in services, you got to put in your location area, right? You got to put in pictures. It's very similar to like the content you need to set up a website, okay? And so this is a really, really important step because you want to make sure that you have all the right information on that GMB so that Google presents it when it matters, right? If you're not a plumber, don't say that you're a plumber. You know, seems pretty basic, but you really do need to fill it out from soup to nuts all the way through so that Google indexes you correctly, right? So make sure you have an hour or so, sit down and really take your time with it. So that's number 1, and I'll link a blog post that I've written about that in the description below this video. Number 2 is going to be pictures and content. So a lot of people don't know that you can post on the GMB just like Facebook. They aren't seen the same way, right? They don't like pop up in people's news feeds for Google because they don't scroll through Google the way they do Facebook, but you can still make posts and Google will reward you for making posts. So what I tell a lot of my clients that are short on cash looking to get extra money out of the world is when you post something on Facebook, just post it on the GMB as well, right? And this is a really easy way to just give you a little bit more exposure, okay? Number 3 is reviews. And this is really the lifeblood of the GMB, is getting 5-star reviews in volume, right? And getting well-written ones, and then responding to those reviews and responding to bad reviews. And this is going to be the key to really blowing past the competition. Because I'm sure for some of you, you're like, you got to the GMB part and you're like, oh, Charlie, there's a guy down the street who has 4 million reviews. I'll never be able to beat him. That's the cool thing about the GMB, is it still utilizes this metric, which Google's been using now for about 10 years, or this algorithmic function called click momentum, where so that a website doesn't just rule the roost until kingdom come because they're at the top and they continue to get more business, which makes them be more at the top. They use this idea of click momentum, where if you're taking your time, you're setting up your GMB correctly, you're using the pictures and the posting functions, your location tags are set up appropriately, and you start to get reviews in volume very, very quickly, then Google will give you a front page spot over the dude with 4 million reviews for a space of time, for a few days, a few months. You know, it really does vary depending upon a number of factors. But this is one of those things where I can't sell it to you. Another digital marketer can't sell it to you. It's really just hard work, and you can try and game it. You know, some people use like review aggregators and stuff, but Google knows, right? They have algorithms to catch all this stuff nowadays. So if you do it the right way, just like you did your word of mouth to build your business, and you get reviews through Google like this, they will reward you for it, and rapidly. And that's what I mean when I say that you can get business by next week if you get like 10 reviews this weekend. You know, it really can be that fast. Okay? So that's the most important piece there. And then finally, what I would say is once you've set up all of this, right, you're starting to see some business, the final piece, my pencil's upside down, right, is hire a pro. And this is probably the most important part because, like, for instance, I run a web development company, right? I want to spend most of my time making videos like this or helping my company build websites. That's it. You know, I don't want to be a copywriter. I have people for that. I don't want to be an ads guy. I have someone for that. I don't want to be a radio ads guy. Right? I don't have someone for that, thank God. I don't even know why I thought of that. Let's call it podcast. How about that? I don't like that. Yeah. Podcast ads guy. Right? Don't have one of those either, but you get the idea. So once you start to get real business from the internet, I would highly recommend to then start to look for a pro to take the work off, because you can get this stuff all done in a weekend, right? But it's not a weekend. It's 2 days of work, you know, and it's 2 long days of work. There's a lot of stuff to do here when you dig through your Google My Business, you brainstorm what's working, you change content on your site, you get new images on there. It's a lot of work, right? So one of the best things you can do once you start to see a little blood in the water, once you start to make money, is to look to hire a pro, right? And this is where we come in. So Mountain Man Digital has been building websites now for 8 years. We have a team of 3 full stack developers. So we can do everything from full custom apps that integrate with your website down to just a single page, simple site for like a therapist or something. We've done plenty of those too. So if you need some help actually professionalizing your digital footprint and you want the ability to scale that anywhere you want in the future, then we're definitely looking to take on a couple new clients in February. So simply comment down below or head to